If you were to ever ask me, what 3 things would I do before I die? One of them would have to be build a city, in Minecraft anyway. Now, I'm not talking about just any old city with a couple of buildings, houses, etc, etc, etc. I'm talking about a fully fledged city. Like, I'm talking skyscrapers, palaces, huge buildings, airports, you name it. What you would find in a city. For example, like London, or I can't think of any other cities. Wow. Anyway, knowing me and liking to build in Minecraft, I've started to do exactly that. Well, when I say start, I mean very, very slightly started. I've got almost nowhere in the space of like a year. I mean, yes, so far I have built an airport, a convention centre, starting on a stadium, some houses and stuff like that. But there's a problem. There's no means of transport connecting each of them. Now, when you think of a city and you think of transport, what do you think? Maybe you think roads or highways, which I'm sorry, LA, that's the worst possible decision you could have ever made. Or talking buses. Ugh, buses. Half the time they never turn up and bus stops are so depressing. Not to mention they're overpriced and always break down. Or we could go a little bit more extravagant. For example, trams. Yeah, they're okay, I guess. But what if I were to mention light rail or metro? Oh yes, I'm talking about the good old trains again, because, you know, if you know me in real life or follow me on Twitter, you'll pretty much know that.
I like trains.
So what am I going to do? Well, of course I'm going to build a metro system. Like this kind of size metro system. Over time, that is. Realistically, I've only started on like one of the lines. But you know what? Let me give you a tour of it and an insight into how I build it. Because trust me, it isn't as easy as it looks. You see, I'm not just going to slap some rail down, build some blocks as a station. Oh no, I'm going to put this through a thorough design process, as I always do, and take too much time on it. I've got to make sure all the stations are efficient, spacious, and look good. They've got to serve a purpose, and they've got to be unique. The busier the area, the more people it can handle. I want it to look modern, but not too modern to the point it's obnoxiously modern, because sometimes that looks a bit weird. I want it to also have character too. So join me through this video where I'll show you around what I've got so far and what I've got left to build. Trust me, you'll be in a bit of a shock. The first step to creating this metro system would have to be looking at what I've built so far of the city and where to place each station. But because I've only built like 5 areas in the entire city, there's literally no point in doing that. So I'm going to design a city around the metro system. So technically the first step would be creating the map, which I have done. Now, this wasn't too difficult. But the difficult part was making the name, which was fun at first, but then I started to run out of ideas. So I called up my friend Rizzle Spizzles to help me come up with some names, because I was pretty much out of ideas. So I've got an acquaintance here. We're just going to go and name some stations, because I've got like 99% of the stations named, but I'm kind of out of ideas for a lot of them. So we've got a few on the end of the yellow line and the end of the green line.
I had an idea for either part of the yellow line.
One end has a train station, like a normal intercity train station, and then the next one has...
Do the left one. So I put yellow and end together to come up with Yellend.
That sounds like then. I don't know. Nah, let's move on to another one then. Let's move on to the end of the green one.
End?
You're the most unoriginal idea ever. I've given them such suitable names, like The Mouth. Look, I've even given them names like Obama and James Rallison himself.
Yes.
And Pickering Lane, Campton Bay, Knutsford Bay, Tyson Lane, Crew Lane. Obama.
Currently there's 2 votes and it's 100% for yes.
Fine, we'll name it Yelland.
Oi!
I hate that. I don't like. Let's name this one Spittle Avenue. We've got one solitary station on the black line. I think this station's kind of pointless. Oh my god. Yes, I got an idea. Paynes Park. There we go. I think that's not a bad name, Paynes Park.
Ooh.
That could be in the centre of a park, you know.
Virgin Road.
I mean,
No, we need our own road.
The next station is Virgin Street. Change here for...
Imagine that. You're just on the ground, you're like, Alex, get off.
Okay, so Rizzle kind of abandoned me, so I'm left with some stations left to name. I've decided to just go and name a load of stations after friends, so shout out to you guys. You know who you are. But otherwise, I think I'm almost done. And with the map complete, and the majority of the red line too, this means it is now time to give you a tour of what I've built so far. We start our journey on one of the many lines to be built, specifically the red line, in this very fancy looking airport. Now, you're probably wondering, why am I flying around an airport which has really long corridors, as well as planes, obviously, even more long corridors down below? I mean, yes, it may be one of the few things that I have completed. However, there's another reason for this. Where would you go if you arrive at an airport? The first station we start at is called Skyways, very suitingly as it's next to an airport. It's a very basic design station, just featuring a canopy and platforms down below, but provides easy access for everyone using it.
The next station is Northwood Exhibition Centre. Exit here from Northwood Exhibition Centre. Please remember to take all your belongings with you and exit on the right hand side.
We now move on to the very next station called Northwood Exhibition Centre. Why is it called this? Because it is actually positioned right inside an exhibition centre and is technically only open sometimes. The station again follows a very simple design with a central platform held by these weird wire things, I don't know how to describe it, underneath another glass canopy. Only a stone's throw away is the very next station. This is by far one of the biggest stations on the line, featuring a very open plan area as well as a very unique design, meaning natural light can get in on either side of the station. Oh hey look, there's also a train here. Moving on from Exhibition Square, we have got Paddy Hill, which is not a very fancy station, but is one of my favourite just because of how it was one of the first that I built. This one features a huge pit letting in lots of natural light covered by a glass pyramid. And not far from there is my first station which I built almost a year ago now, called Tower. This is special because it crosses the midpoint of the coordinates and is pretty much the only one that is fully complete with all the signage and gates and also ticket machines too. It features a lovely roof, letting lots of natural lighting in the ticket office, and more specifically is around the only area which I could class as a city because I actually have buildings built in this area. It is located around a lake to blend in its glass canopy, which is also located in the middle of a park or a square, however you want to call it. Moving on from there, we get to Trinity Water, which is this ugly, old-looking kind of thing that I've built. But if I were to tell you this is because it crosses an old line, or is supposedly in design an old station, as you can see from the design, then that would be the reason why. Because if we follow this tunnel down here, we end up in the new area, which is the Red Line area. This is by far one of the most complicated stations because you can also follow another corridor, which is the main corridor, and then turn left at the top of the stairs, and look, you're back where you started. But if we were to go up those stairs again and turn right, this would take you to a brand new ticket hall, which I have a roundel there because roundels are cool. This is special because if we travel to the other end, the two ticket halls match, more or less. We now go on to the next station, which is by far the biggest station. It's going to be big because it's got this stadium which is half built. And what's special about this one is, it's based off North Greenwich in London. I know I might not be fully original, but yes, it also has 1, 2 and 3 platforms to help with capacity. It's mostly decorated blue on the interior too, and features a very high ceiling, which is also cool. But if we travel up here and go up this special staircase here, this also takes you to another line, which is overground, strangely. This is also connected and will be known as the light green line, or an equivalent to the DLR. Now what I like about this area is because it's got 3 platforms, this makes the tunnelling quite special. One of the rails do end at just one of the platforms, but if we follow this tunnel sequence, it works out into this very complicated, kind of cool, what took forever to build, rail switching area, with like multiple tunnels.
The next station is Westbridge. Change here for the light green line, including services to Farley Station and Scotch Point. Exit here for river tours in Cambridge Square. Please remember to take all your belongings with you and exit on the right hand side.
We now move on to the next station called Westbridge, which has to be one of my favourite. This has to be because of how small it is and how large it is at the same time. I've designed this one to take up as little space as possible, yet be one of the most efficient on the line, and confusing in other words maybe. Platforms are big, however, both the platforms are stacked on top of each other, which is why it is so large. If we go down the stairs, we also get to the other platform, which goes in the other direction. Now, following up the escalators, we get this lovely view of the many escalators that there are within this station, as well as the ticket hall, which is a pretty boring design if you ask me. And yeah, if you've probably just seen me switch around from here, yes, you can tell it's a very complicated station and probably deserves its own video itself. It's located underneath a building and has this grand view from above, which I have to say definitely impresses. And you may have noticed it also connects to the green line again, the light green line to be specific. This is on another branch if you look on the map and makes perfect sense, and also has an exit round the back, which is this funny armadillo shaped thing. Once again, I've tried to make it as compact as possible, yet as complicated as possible. I just think it looks cooler in my opinion. But there is a next station, and this is Central, which is the last one I've completed so far. This is going to be by far the biggest of them all. This is because it has not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 different lines going through it. If we go up from the platform, we enter this huge area which is a massive roof, which also leads onto what will be 3 of the line's platforms and this extra deep trench which goes down into the black line. Once again, I've decided to design this so it has its own series of older style tunnels to give it a bit more character. But if you go around the back here, this also leads to another tunnel, which once again links you straight back to the red line. This is the reason I've added many different stairs, because it makes more sense. Once again, I have designed this to make sure as much natural light gets in as possible, which I think is a priority to make things seem spacious and modern. Unfortunately, that is all the stations I have built. However, I've still got Milestone Way, Bankside, Marina, White Wharf, and 2 airport terminals left to build, which I might make a second video on once I complete this. But yeah, and you're probably wondering, how am I going to build all the tunnelling to this? Well, there is a pretty simple answer to that, and let me show you right now. You're probably thinking that all of this is pretty much complete, and you wouldn't be wrong, you'd think so. Like, I mean, look, you've got miles and miles of tunnel here, which I'm definitely going to change because I've got a better design for that. Stations with signs everywhere and escalators and whatnot and all this fancy design. I just realised how tall that is. But I hate to say it, you'll be wrong, because you could be travelling along here pretty easily, but then yeah, it just ends like that. Let's pretend the glass was never there. Now, that is the thing. Building the tunnels is a pretty tedious task if you ask me. But I've came up with a solution which makes it much easier and much more interesting than sticking loads and loads of blocks down. First things first, what I do is ingredients. The items I need are a bit of smooth sandstone, some more smooth sandstone. We're going to be using this kind of wall for my rail because it's a lot easier. And finally some concrete stones and a bit of black. First things first, I just simply put down a bit of sandstone either side just after I break this stupid wall. So first things first I do is put a load of this sandstone slabs down on each side and the middle, because I'm going to have it width of 5. That gives about 3 blocks inside of the train, which is like a pretty reasonable amount, I guess. And once done with that, yeah, that's pretty much what I need to do. And then in the middle, just stick a load of this just normal, regular, smooth sandstone blocks there. And on top of that is where I put my rail, which I hate doing because it always sticks up and makes a mess. And then I just go along and get rid of those blocks. Yeah, this is what I mean by it can be tedious sometimes. Wow. Again, right, I'm just going to try it this way. Are you serious? And yeah, after a lot of struggle, or some struggle anyway, that bottom row is done. Now we'll just create a bit of a walkway on the side because, you know, you've got to have that emergency exit. What if something bad happened? It won't. This system is perfect. And yeah, just add that to the end there. So you can get from station to station without dying if the train dies or something. I have noticed that this part here isn't finished yet. That's completely different, but I will get around to doing that, I promise. And on either side, just stick a load more of these stone blocks because it looks like modern concrete, if you ask me. You're probably thinking, why aren't I using the fill command? Well, I will show you in a little bit, because no, I won't be using the fill command, but I'll be using something different. That was really weird. It's doing it again. Look, this is why I hate Bedrock Minecraft. I don't need to get Java Minecraft. Yeah, once you've done it, yeah, just like this much should probably be sufficient on the ceiling. Yeah, like that. I like to decorate it a bit and put a little bit of this whole block in the middle just to give it a bit more of a dark, dingy look, because at the end of the day, it is a tunnel. And either side, just your standard concrete blocks again. Once that's done, you just simply do the other side of the wall. I'm probably not going to show you this bit because this bit's a bit boring. And there you go. That is basically what your tunnel's meant to look like. But it's missing something. You see,
I'm going to add a little bit of lighting, not too much, just a bit. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And place another one there. And that gives just enough for it to look aesthetic, but also not too aesthetic. Now here's the real question. What do I do once I've completed this small section but haven't completed the rest? Well, this is where it gets interesting. You may have noticed I've got my coordinates at the top. Well, there's a very good reason for that. What I do first is I find the lowest values. This is almost like a tutorial video. Wow, I just realised. The lowest values are up here. You just go in, drop down. I'm old school, so I do it all on pen and paper. Write down the coordinates. Yeah, always make sure this is the lowest first, and then the highest. And then you fly over here. Hold on. And then you fly up to this end here, and find out what those highest coordinates are. And voila. Now what do? You're probably wondering. Well, that's a pretty simple question. You just fly up a little bit further up, put a bit of block in line with that one, find out what that coordinate was, write it down. Yeah, make sure that the middle value is like the same, otherwise you're going to mess it up. Like the same as the first coordinates that you wrote down. And then the easiest part is just slash, I've forgotten the command. Wow. Clone. Put in the first numbers. Second load. And the last ones you wrote down. And with a bit of luck, you wouldn't be left with a gap in the middle. Oh, that's great. That really, really, really worked. So yeah, I may have finished recording myself building all the tunneling in the system there, because let's be honest, that's probably not the best part of the video, in my opinion anyway. However, if you want to stay updated to what is actually going on with this and when I'll be completing it, I've made a Twitter account dedicated just to this project. And yes, I know that sounds incredibly sad, but if you want to stay updated and see how it's going, be sure to follow it. I put a little thing in the tab thing up there so you can click it. Also, before I just finish the video, I just want to say that I'm trying to aim to hit 2,500 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you haven't subscribed already, that would be much appreciated. I would go and say that only half of my viewers are subscribed according to my analytics, but that's overused. Well, I just said it. Thanks for watching.